Hey, everybody. It's Friday. Haven't said that in a long time. It's Friday. This is an AMA. My name's Kevin Murcko. I'm CEO and founder here at Coinmetro. AMA means ask me anything. It's literally that. You ask, I answer. No intro, no nothing. No special graphics, nothing, man. Just questions and answers. So let's rock and roll. Let's get right into it. Happy December 20th for those who celebrate, whatever that means. Luke's up first. Gold medal coming out to Luke. It'll be in the mail soon. Trademark. Hey, Kevin, I know you can't give financial advice. I mean, I could. And then I could just say this isn't financial advice and it would still be financial advice. But what's your personal opinion on what market cap Parsiq could reach this cycle? Well, so from a fundamental standpoint, well, let's start with technicals because why not? I don't have a chart in front of me, but from a technical standpoint, the high last bull run was about 350, 360 euro, I think, somewhere in there. Let's say 350 just to round it out. It was somewhere around that level. The absolute low, not talking about after their launch, if you remember, they did their launch on Coinmetro, and it went as low as about a half a cent, if I remember correctly. This was post launch, was 2 cents at launch, went to half a cent, made it all the way up to about 350. That was on the back of Stansberry research and them kind of throwing out there that it was a good buy, et cetera, talking a bit about what Parsiq was working on. Now, Stansberry just got back behind Parsiq actually, and now React, which is coming soon. The ability, some of the things that React are working on and with their native network are really interesting. Being able to automate stop losses on chain, pretty cool. Being able to not just monitor data, but make that data actionable through their own native network and do it quickly and et cetera, et cetera. All cool stuff. So if you think Parsiq, if you believe that cycles repeat themselves, it's now I'll caveat this by saying there are very few altcoins, with the exception of exchange tokens, and layer ones, that can retake all-time highs in a subsequent bull run. Now, Parsiq wasn't a layer one when it hit its last high, but it will be under React. So to be honest, it's almost, and so we'll have to see. StreamYard's giving me a bit of trouble here, guys. So if you do notice something, please post it. Or if you don't notice something, I should say, you should post it. Anyway, so from a technical standpoint, there's several key resistances probably on the way up from where we are now. 30 cents, 50 cents, around a euro, 70 cents. It's sat a while. Around a euro, it's sat a while. Probably somewhere in the range of about 170 or so, and then 250. I think in general, if they can really hit the ground running, React is a completely different ball game in comparison to Parsiq. Whether this will be its bull run, depending on when it actually launches, when those tokens are distributed, et cetera, we'll have to see. I think it has some legs. It's really hard though, because to me, it really is a different asset. It's on mainnet. It's its own thing. It's a lot of the stuff Parsiq wanted to be, but amplified. But we'll have to see how the launch goes, et cetera. So maybe ask me that in the new year, and we'll see. From Rush Music, right on. Hey, Kevin, I've been away from Coinmetro and crypto for a while. What is some upcoming bullish news for XCM? Well, let's see. We just had the biggest burn we've ever done, about 400. We're not actually, we've done bigger burns, but they were generally treasury burns. This is the biggest burn tied to actually trading volume. If you don't know, or if maybe you do know, I'll give you a bit of a refresher course. Tokenomics for XCM work in that every exchange that happens, every trade that happens on the exchange, on the spot exchange, essentially the commissions from that essentially go to buy XCM, and we burn half of that on a weekly basis. So we burned about 430,000 XCM this morning. That's the biggest burn related to volumes. I expect those to increase now. Even if we're at 500,000 a week, that's 2 million a month. Over the course of a year, it's 8% of the supply. Now, my expectation is that volumes will grow, but even at 8%, 10% approximately of the supply on a yearly basis, That's a massive amount of weight getting pulled off of circulating supply when you consider the fact that the majority, a large majority, or a large amount of XCM are actually staked, about 1/3 of the circulating supply. And then there's another, at least 1/3 of the circulating supply held by large holders, including shareholders, et cetera, which aren't really inside of that any type of sell pressure. And so that's bullish. Now that's already happening, but you know, our tokenomics have always been great. You just haven't been able to see how great they are because volumes took more time than we thought they would to show their true colors. We have a new Mars program. If you know Mars now, the way it works is when you stake XCM, you get a piece of the profits we make on other stakeable assets on Coinmetro. That's going to change in 2025, probably Q2. What the new Mars will do is it will create pools on every single tradable pair on the exchange. And so the commissions that come from that pool will be split. 33% will go into a pool. We'll call it the Mars pool. We will gamify it by saying, look, on this particular pair, we need to see X amount of volume per month. If we do, that pool goes into Mars. So you will be able to earn every single asset that's tradable on Coinmetro inside of Mars by staking XCM. That's going to be bullish for XCM as well. I think those two things alone far outpace any other exchange tokens, tokenomics in crypto. The reason why people don't know about it and aren't, you know, clamoring up to buy some is simply because we haven't been able to truly showcase how great those tokenomics are. But that has started now. And it's going to, I think, continue to propel within 2025. And it's going to become much more known, broadly known by crypto in general. How do you think MiCA will impact the crypto market? So those who don't know, MiCA is Markets in Crypto Assets. It's new regulation that has already been essentially launched within Europe, though in different countries you have different dates when the laws actually come into place. In Estonia, being a licensed entity there, we have until June 2026 to fully implement MiCA. You know, MiCA, when it was written and when it was initially approved, went through its approval process, was probably one of the more, I don't know the right word to use here, was probably one of the more well-written crypto legislations in the world, at least in the first world. However, you now have a U.S. administration coming to power that at least seems that it's going to be quite pro-crypto. And so if that's the case, and we see, whether it be the CFTC, the NFA, or some other body, regulate crypto and come out with an even more concise regulatory package, then I would expect MiCA 2 to be right around the corner. And what that would do is probably move a lot of businesses out of Europe that are currently domiciled here to domicile in the US. Europe as at scale, meaning the entirety of Europe, is a bigger market with traditional markets than the US is. However, it's very segmented. And with crypto, same thing, very segmented. There really isn't a true market leader within Europe. MiCA may change that, but again, if regulation comes out of the US that really makes sense, that will affect how MiCA is looked upon by players in the market, including Coinmetro. So I think the potential benefits of MiCA is that you will start to see those markets become less segmented, and it will allow for potentially some regional brands that are only regional in Europe to become European-wide brands, and foreign brands that are outside of Europe to come in and actually become Europe-wide brands as well. Honestly, though, I think at least initially, not much is going to happen. I would expect that it'll take at least probably till 2027 until we really start to feel or see the effects of MiCA in any real good way. There are already kind of bad things that are happening. I say bad mainly for players within the market and in some cases clients at large. There are things that are being requested and will be requested of crypto exchanges and platforms that are simply impossible, or maybe possible but will murder the business and also make the user experience terrible for little or no benefit to the end users. And those things are currently being discussed in different countries around Europe. And, we're going to have to see how that pans out. That's normal. Happened with MiFID 1, happened with MiFID 2. It's going to happen with MiCA 1, MiCA 2, MiCA 3, MiCA 20, whatever. That's just part of the process. But I wouldn't expect things to change overnight. That's for sure. And most of the things that will change, at least from a business level, have already changed because businesses are already adapting since the beginning of 2024. What are some achievements of 2024 that you're proud of? Well, I think one big achievement is that I think we finally kind of figured out how to properly deal with the resources we have on the tech side, tackle our delivery process, and make sure that we can still maintain and deliver and do so on time. We just had US dollar Swift launch. Full transparency, it was about a week late from when we thought we were going to launch it, but it was a week late, not months late, not a year late, not completely off the roadmap. It was a week late, and it was launched, and it seems to be working exactly as planned. We've seen other launches, smaller, that maybe don't have as much fanfare as US dollar Swift deposits, but I expect that to continue. That's a major change for us, and it took a long time for us to get there. We can say it happened in 2024, which is great. I think with a lot of the things that we've done that may seem small, but that are helping us gear up towards where we want to be. I think the mobile app in general, we can kind of attribute to 2024. It still has a little ways to go to get to where we want it to be, but it's a different experience than it was. We've definitely figured out, I think, from several angles on how we want to focus our resources, and I don't just mean in tech there, but focus our resources and do the best for our end users, the best for the business. Also a big milestone for us. Yeah, and I think we've over time, this might not be 2024, but we've definitely figured out how to maximize revenue while not passing, let's say, a big cost onto our end users in terms of fees, etc. So being able to position ourselves in a place where our retention is really good, and that's because great customer support, transparency, AMAs, etc., and also our ability to make money on our clients while maintaining ourselves in a very competitive nature, comparatively speaking, to other players in the market. What excites you the most looking at the roadmap for 2025? That's a great question as well. 3 questions in a row, man. Nice. So I think, we're going to be focusing a lot on making sure that the initial experience, onboarding, first deposit, DCA setup, and then maybe even spot copy trading, spot social trading, is kind of like, easy, fast, 1, 2, 3, and done. We really want to become the exchange community. And when I say that, I mean an exchange that operates with, around, and for its community, but also the place where people come because they feel like there's just more of a camaraderie when it comes to not only the people that work at the business, but also all the clients that, use the platform, etc. And so what excites me there, one, I think the market's going to be super interesting, fundamentally speaking, because of, what happened in the US with elections, also what potentially will happen around the rest of the world for the next year or two, and the fact that we're smack dab in the middle of or the start of what looks like it will be a very different cycle in many ways than what we've seen in the past. So lots of things happened, whether you're talking about ETFs, whether you're talking about potential now lots of sovereign money flowing into Bitcoin, whether you're talking about, again, fundamentals, the election in the US, at least probably 2 years worth of less regulatory pressure, and also potentially very pro legislative and/or, everything, I guess every branch of government when it comes to our industry. And so all that stuff is new for our industry. We haven't seen that before, and it's going to be super interesting. So I think our ability to kind of show the world Q1, Q2, build a bit in Q2 and Q3, and then really come out next year in Q4 as, a player. And What that means in terms of market share, well, we're going to see by Q4, I guess. But I do believe we are going to be a multiple of the size we are now. And I've probably said similar things in the past. And it's not, and I'm not saying I didn't believe them then, but I've also learned from every past experience that I thought, okay, I think we have what we need internally. Of course, never really knew externally, but internally, I think we have what we need. And a lot of times things that happen external caused us to lose some momentum we had internally. And at least from the general kind of mindset and focus and, let's say, sentiment that we're going to see externally, and the fact that we've aligned many things internally, I think is kind of creating a secret sauce, a special sauce that's going to propel us, not just us, but the entire market, right? Rising water, rising, what is it? Rising, it's not rising water. It's, I forget, the rising tides, whatever, brings up all ships, right? So what do you think about Kadena's latest announcement, upgrading to 40 chains with 20 new chains being EVM, Solidity-based partnerships, et cetera? So I gotta be clear here. I didn't watch the AMA. I missed it. I was planning to watch after they taped it, and I still haven't gotten there. But you know, we obviously, Kadena's talked about a long time that they can go to infinite amount of chains. This addition of 20 new chains, but them being, you know, EVM and Solidity based, so say compatible with Ethereum, et cetera, and other EVM chains is interesting. I think it shows that, one, they realize that they need to bring in some additional liquidity, and where they need to tap that liquidity is in larger chains, and so they've done that. That's actually really cool. That might have been a bit of a kick in, like in the pride, you know, like that might have hurt a little bit when that happened, but I think that's a great thing. You know, like I said, there's only two types of tokens that are coins or tokens that generally do well, at least historically, between bull runs. One is layer ones. The other one is exchange tokens. Being a layer one, I think Kadena, and I still say it, Kadena has the ability to run. That's for sure. They have a lot of the things they need. I have said in the past, they need to focus. They need to figure out what their niche is. They need to focus hard there. This may not necessarily help with that, though. I don't know of another chain that has, let's say, parallel chains that actually operate a cross-platform. So that's interesting. There may be others, but off the top of my head, I don't know them. So that is a unique utility, I think. But it does show that they realize that they need to bring in additional liquidity. So that's cool, and definitely thumbs up for me on that decision. Hi, Kevin. Any update on the KDA ecosystem integration on Coinmetro? Can you share some insights? No insights yet. Haven't actually really delved into the conversation. So after I was on the, I guess, podcast that we did when we discussed this, haven't really had a follow-up to that yet. What I would say is that even if we did, at least from a development standpoint, we just hired 2 additional backend devs. One of them starting in January, one of them starting in February. In reality, we will probably have space Q2 to be able to tackle things like this, but we will be able to tackle things like this at a much faster pace. And so haven't had a talk yet. You're going to have to ask me again in the near future, probably like February or March, and I'll let you know how talks are progressing. Hey, Sean, to help Coinmetro clients stay ahead, benefit, and hedge against political risks, I read Coinmetro's blog discussing the looming quantum threat posed to implications for blockchain security. Follow up here. What steps would be necessary to initiate a collaboration with quantum resistant ledger for a potential tokenless? Sean, you were waiting on that one. You were waiting for us to post something, because I know you've been pushing at this in Telegram for a while. So I'll start off by saying Bitcoin and really any other chain is not I don't think anything is in immediate danger from quantum. Even with the Willow chip and all this stuff, we are, I don't want to say a full decade, but we are probably close to a decade away. One thing is showing that it's possible. 50 years ago, they knew it would be possible. 20 years, there were already tests to show it would be possible. 5-6 years ago, I remember reading about tests that with a few qubits that showed it was possible. Now, Google has jumped ahead. I think there was 1,000 qubits, 1,200 qubits, I don't know, processing power on this quantum chip. But there needs significant more in order to crack RSA or elliptic curve on Bitcoin. We are still a long way away. And by the time we get there, you know, doing quantum now, you might be doing it too early. Why too early? Well, you may build it for quantum resistance based on what you know now. And then in 10 years or 8 years or 20 years or 17 years, whatever it is, the technology may advance enough where whatever you did now might not work. So you may have to redo it at some point in the near future. And then I'm saying that's the case with QRL. So don't take this as me being, fudding or something. Anyway, I think we can look at QRL. You need to get in touch with Alec on Telegram. If you don't have his Telegram, just DM me or ping me on Telegram and I'll send it over to you. He's our PM on listings. He's away right now for the holidays, but he'll be back in January. We can take a look. What I would say though is everybody should calm down a little bit. Bitcoin's not going to get a quantum attack. And when the white paper was written in 2008, Satoshi already knew that there were algorithms that once quantum computing was ready could break the encryption he was using. But he also knew that the estimates were 20 to 30 years away. Now, 20 years will be about 3 years from now. And that's the kind of start of the window when they assumed we would get there. And that window is probably going to be more towards the end of that 20 to 30 years. How's exchange volume looking this month? Tell us some sign up user data. Is CM profitable? CM probably will be profitable in December. Won't know until the end of the month. So we'll see. Next AMA, you can ask again. Exchange volume is looking good. I was just looking at volumes. Give me a second. Let me, I'm not going to share this because it's just internal data, but not necessarily the data. It's just the dashboard I'm looking at is internal. But I'm seeing for this month so far about 315 million in volume. That's an average of about 16 million, 15.5 million a day on average. Of course, we did have a big spike. So, but definitely over 10 million per day on average, if you take the mean, so to speak. So yeah, volumes are looking good. In terms of new signups, we are seeing things pick up. It's still, it's equivalent and or slightly better than where it was at the start of the last bull run. Definitely not towards the tail end, the actual peak of the bull run, but definitely better than the start. So when we compare, we are doing better, and more clients are coming on board. There will be advertising kicking off in January. I just saw some of the animations and videos, et cetera, that are being worked on. And I see some of the narratives being worked on in the background and where we're going to be pushing those out. So it's going to be cool. You guys will see them for sure. Hopefully you'll be excited about it. Will I be able to DCA via USD from my bank directly to buy XCM? So you'll definitely be able to DCA in 2025. Initially, it's going to be by card, and you'll be able to do it from the US as well. At least that's what it looks like from our current, the credit card provider we're currently in talks with. Bank accounts would be next, probably through Plaid, the same company we used to use for ACH, though that's going to be a next step. So cards will happen first, tail end of 2025, maybe Q3, I don't know, depending on how fast we can get approvals, etc. We can potentially see direct from your bank account, yes. But you can use a debit card, I guess, once cards are live, and that's going to be much sooner. I also noticed Coinmetro had a sudden big uptick increase in volumes. Was that some kind of error? It wasn't an error. It was clients basically arbing between different pairs on the exchange that had different sources of liquidity. So no, not an error. Paul? Sorry. What will this month's increase in profits allow you to do, which you would have to delay? Nothing really. We actually assumed in our projections that we were going to have one, at least, but we suspected one profitable month in Q4. And we came close in November, but December is probably going to be that month. So we're pretty much right on track in those terms. I think what it does do, obviously it helps extend the runway a little bit, right? Every time we make a bit more profit, we're spending less money every month. Runway gets expanded. Increase in crypto prices helps with that as well. So yeah, it's positive in that light. This month, depending if we kind of calculate out with the same volumes here, let me go back and just stare at this page for a second here again. I'm estimating we would be about 50,000 euros in profit, more or less, maybe slightly more than that. And if that's the case, well, That plus crypto price increases. Of course, today maybe it's a little less, but I'm sure come out of the holidays, it's going to look about the same as it did right before this little flash crash. More than likely, it's going to add, I don't know, a month, 2 months, even 3 months maybe onto our runway. And if in January we continue to maintain stability in February, March, April, and maybe even some profitability, et cetera, then, you know, we're just going to keep on extending. So that's definitely a positive thing. Hey, Kev, has November been profitable for CM? And November was close. I think we probably spent, I'd have to go back and look, probably spent somewhere around 100K, meaning we burned about 100K in November. We should make money this month. I think, like I said, just estimate about 50K over our burn. Hey, Ken, nice to see you here, man. Will Coinmetro support the VXV to VIX swap? Yes. I mean, our goal, we will at some point support every token swap of tokens that we have listed on the exchange. That's kind of our job. Now, we've definitely run into, out of nowhere, everybody wanted to have a new token name, I kind of get it, you know, like, okay, as I said, not the only tokens, but majorly speaking, the only tokens that end up doing well more than one bull run normally, well, Dogecoin is a meme token, I guess, but not really anymore. It's kind of used for the same thing that XRP is, moving money between exchanges. So, and it's also now a government advisory panel. So there you go. They have a utility token. It'd be awesome if they would put the budget on there on the blockchain. Anyway, my point is to say that you know, people are, I get the business reason, you know, people come out with a new token because it has a clean chart. However, a lot of companies came out of nowhere and started doing it, and so we got backed up a bit. Coming into January, we're going to be sifting through those things. I think by the end of Q1, we will have all of them done and dusted, including those that may come in Q1, especially with these 2 new devs coming on board. So yes, we plan to support it. Obviously, we're going to need information from VXV. Sometimes we don't get information. Sometimes the information comes out and we're not notified. That's happened for sure from certain chains. So how many monthly active users are there? I don't know if I have that sitting in front of me. Let me see. Last month, looks like we were over 3,000 active users. We may, I think we're going to up that a bit, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 this month, but we'll have to see. Again, we are coming into holidays, so, you know, it may skew a bit. We'll have to see, but it's increasing. That's for ssure. But that's not an exact number because I'm looking at an entirely different screen. But anyway, that's a rough estimate. In my opinion, it would be important to advertise the USD Swift on-ramp, low cost, and how quickly the funds become available. Are there plans to do this? Yes. Advertising come up in January, and one of the campaigns I saw specifically talks about the speed to onboard Fiat and the low to no cost. And USD Swift definitely on that list. Hi, Kevin. Good to see you. Wishing you and your family happy holidays. Keep on rocking. Thanks, Alexander. Same to you. Happy holidays. Hope your family's well. Cheers like Near, eGold, Algo are the future. What do you think? Yeah, I've said this a lot, and I'll say it here as well. You have Bitcoin, who is essentially the chain for high-end transfer of value and quote unquote store of wealth. You have Ethereum, which up to this point has been the winner in programmatic money. Now you have things like Solana, et cetera, which, you know, definitely are, they're doing more transactions, that's for sure. But you also have to take into account pump fund and all these things. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that's bad. I mean, pump fund might be bad, but, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing. But when you're talking about the amount of users and lock value, et cetera, that you need to take that into account. You know, we haven't figured out, and none of these chains, I think, to be honest, have figured out what they're really good at, what they're doing, and what they're focusing on. Until that happens, we're going to have a lot of companies that do a lot of cool stuff and they're scalable and blah, 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 blah. But you can't compete across every vertical. You just can't, right? You know, Nike's probably not going to make dishware. You know, you're probably not going to go and buy, you know, a car made by the dude who makes your steak knives. I mean, I don't know, Elon Musk might have made steak knives. I don't know. He made flamethrowers. I don't. My point is to say is that, you know, they need to figure out really what they're good at. They need to figure out where they can actually solve problems the best and focus. Same thing I said about Kadena, and I'll say the same thing about any layer one, really. And so they might be the future, sure, but they might not. Not every application needs infinite scalability. Not every application needs speed in general. In fact, a lot of applications would rather have certainty than speed. And so, yeah, that's why you really haven't seen so many applications of blockchain for settlements, for example, because settlements need certainty, not necessarily speed. Speed is great. Of course, you'd rather settle in minutes or seconds than days. But if you can settle in minutes and there's no certainty behind that settlement, well, if I can fork it afterward and say, well, sorry, roll it back, etc. So yeah, it really depends. And they could be, but the real question is for what? Andrew, will you supporting the Midnight ZK project about to launch on Cardano? That's a good question, Andrew. I don't even have an answer to that one, to be honest. Haven't been reading up on Cardano lately. I used to joke that I'd go and read their amazing looking, if their roadmap on their website was beautiful, but I don't remember anything actually happening. Now that's me saying that, the CEO of Coinmetro. We've missed a lot of things on a lot of roadmaps. But yeah, it's always fun to joke about somebody else as well. Now, I guess it depends. Look, at the end of the day, if we have an asset listed and they do something and it's interesting and it's of value to our users and the business, if it's just a value to us, we might not do it. If it's just a value to our users, we probably will do it. If it's a value to both parties, then we absolutely will do it. Then it's just about timing. Hey, Paul. Yeah, go for it. Not taking into account revenues and changes in crypto prices, we would be at roughly 6 months right now with runway. The last time I checked was about 3 weeks ago. And without taking into account crypto prices at that time and not taking into account, obviously, our increase in revenue, we were about 7.5 months. I believe we're probably somewhere around 8 months right now, somewhere between 7 and 8 months, given crypto prices, not necessarily today's crypto prices, but let's say the average crypto price over the last 10, 15 days or so, and our increase in revenues, assuming that somewhere between what we did in November and December, meaning spent 100K, potentially made 50K. So that's an average of what making of probably spending 25K, right? And if that's the case, then yeah, that would put us even maybe a bit further than that, but somewhere in that general range. If BlackRock is now subtly suggesting that Bitcoin supply cap will have to be forked, I suppose a quantum resistant fork will also be possible. Yeah, of course it would, and that's probably what they would do anyway once we get to that point. I don't know. I heard that was kind of somebody changed the article after the fact, and I've seen that same article, not by BlackRock, but by every other institution throughout the last 15, 16 years. Look, theoretically, could it be changed? Yeah, theoretically. It's not even written in the white paper, right? Nowhere does it say 21 million. You just have to do the math to figure it out, right? You go through the halvings and you figure out what the max cap would potentially be. I don't understand why anyone that's actually has money in the market would want to increase the cap. Makes 0 sense. Literally 0 sense. Even miners, for that matter. If you notice, miners, funny enough, are buying Bitcoin and they're not selling the Bitcoin they're mining. Imagine an industry. Imagine gold miners. Have you ever heard of a gold miner mining gold, not selling any, and buying gold from the actual open market? I don't think that's ever happened. But that's what Bitcoin miners at scale are doing right now. That even miners would be upset about kind of potentially increasing the cap. I don't see how that benefits anyone. I could make arguments how it potentially could benefit, but in reality, in the grand scheme of things, I don't, and especially wouldn't benefit BlackRock at all. Well, we definitely wouldn't benefit their ETF. Now, that's not their money, but still. Hello, Kevin. Hope you're fine. Is Coinmetro now profitable? Should be profitable this month, Leo. Any chance of listing GLQ and DNX? Got to talk to Alec, man. PM on listings. Listings will pick up in the new year, that's for sure, especially with those new backend devs coming on. Our goal is to have at least one backend dev and then eventually two, kind of just on listings. And that was our plan, actually, until, you know, some shit happened. but that is the plan. So we will get there. What do you think about investing in uranium through blockchain? Already available. Better than gold and silver? Cactus, man. Uranium through blockchain. I you know, at least you didn't say Uranus, because then I would have thought I was getting trolled. Uranus on blockchain would be, not yours, but mine, would be interesting. That was a really stupid joke. I apologize. I don't even know if that was a dad joke, but it's Friday, man. I've been doing these things on Thursday for so long, I forgot, you know, the Friday vibe. I think tokenizing anything is interesting. I just think we need to have a reason to do it. You know, the whole RWA thing, for example, I still haven't heard a really good argument for RWA. I've heard the arguments that everybody makes. You know, I know what the possibilities are, and those are great arguments, but they're only possibilities currently. I haven't heard a real good, like, oh, RWA is really going to blow up right now because, you know, I don't know, Gen Alpha, Gen Z can't afford homes, so they can still buy a part of a home and make money on it. Yeah, or they could just buy a meme coin like they're already doing and, you know, potentially make a ton of money or lose it, but they could lose it in the RWA as well. You know, this whole idea that if you buy something that goes up, you make money is nonsense, because people buy at the wrong times and sell at the wrong times all the time. Anyway, I'm about to go on a big rant. I should have a rant show. I've been talking to Oliver. I don't know if you know Oliver Cactus Man, but Oliver worked for us for a while. Talking to Oliver about doing like between two ferns on for crypto. And we just rant. Just rant for an hour. Me and Oliver. I think that would be amazing. I'd love to rant. I love to rant, I should say. How does a project get listed on Coinmetro? Well, they don't have to pay us $1 bajillion. So that's good. Basically, you get in touch with with us. You get put in contact with the project manager that handles listings. You have a conversation with them. There usually is some type of cost involved. It's very small, comparatively speaking. Most of our competitors have just raised their listing fees, by the way, by between, I think I heard 2 to 10x, because, well, it's a bull market, right? So, you know, excuse my French, fuck everybody, right? I mean, we're going to make some money. We haven't done that. We haven't raised it by any X's. In fact, it's the same as it's been for years. And I expect it to continue that way, because we want good projects so our clients can trade good projects and buy good projects and hold on to good projects and good companies and good tokens and good coins, not so that we can make money by having listings. You know, so anyway, so if you get in touch, you go on Telegram, go to our support, actually go to support or email hello@Coinmetro and say, look, I have something I'd like to list. And that's going to start the ball rolling. When can I buy crypto with Apple Pay? So that's coming. Our current provider told us they had Apple Pay and Google Pay. Then we went to integrate it. And yeah, so we went to integrate it and we had their docs. We wrote to their docs, you know, their technical documentation. And they're like, oh, my bad. That technical documentation you have, that's actually old. We have a new one. All right. So they gave us a new one. We wrote to that. And then they said, oh, well, actually, no, that's not going to work either. You got to go directly to Google and get approvals or whatever. So we did that. And then the processing agent in the middle is like, no, we do that. We got to do that. So then we went to them and they were like, oh, no, you got to go to Google. And then, oh, no, you got to go to the merchant. Oh, no, you got to go to the processing company. At the end of the day, between gateways and whatever, it's not possible with our current providers, unfortunately. So we do have a new provider currently kind of under the microscope. We expect to finish the onboarding and everything else process in January, hand it over to tech, and hopefully potentially into January, but probably into February, we should have not only that covered, but also US dollars from the US and other currencies from other countries, all available on cards, and maybe even cheaper rates. Maybe not right out the gate, but down the line. What was that about Flux Coinmetro partnership project? Are beans to spill? Errol, I don't have any beans. Actually, I think, you know, Daniel from Flux has to spill some beans. I'm waiting for him to spill the beans to me. So I don't know yet. I think the idea is that, yeah, in their launch with this exchange, they're probably going to need partners, whether it be for liquidity or maybe it's to be able to move assets back and forth between exchanges, and or maybe they're going to have some type of self-custody and then connect to us. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. Your speculation is as good as mine at this point. I'm waiting on Daniel to get back to me and let me know. But I'll let you guys know when I know. Jen's at Denmark. Hi, Kevin. Hey, any chance to have the referral system fixed, especially that we can see the sign-up count? It's, for me, like many, important. Yeah, it is important. And definitely we wanted to have it fixed before ads go live. I know that there's Jared ticket there has been for a long time, but I know it's been initially kind of picked up for research. I don't know where they are in the research right now. We have a freeze between now and between the 17th, which was a couple of days ago, and January 7th. At that point, things can get picked up again. My expectation is that it will get picked up relatively soon thereafter. Why? Because I know that marketing wants it done because it only helps us with those paid promotions. So honestly, right now, I can't really give you a timeline. I can tell you that I have gone and also said, we're getting feedback on this. We really need to take a look at this. And I know there's been some research done. Question is whether they found the issue and now they just need to fix it, or it hasn't been found yet, but I don't have the information in front of me. Ping me right after the holidays on, say, around the 10th of January, if you can remember, Jens. You probably will. You're there every day. And I'll give you an update. And everybody else once I have one. If the U.S. falls into heavy recession and stock markets fall 50% in a crisis, what's up for BTC? Well, I mean, that's a big if, first of all. So I'm not saying that it doesn't fall into a quote unquote heavy recession. Yeah, there was a recession starting from COVID in some way, shape, or form, but it was kind of covered up with the U.S. printing money, buying bonds, selling bonds, taking that money, throwing it in the stock market, etc. Having said that, if the stock market, that was one of my balls from Boston. If the stock market were to fall 50%, yeah, that would have an immediate effect on all crypto, Bitcoin and everything else, for sure. The question is what would bounce back first? My theory would be is that crypto would bounce back first. Why? Well, young money, new money, and now in some institutional money and even sovereign money will be or already is flowing into crypto. And so crypto could, and it's a smaller market cap, obviously. So we need a lot less money to recover than 50% on broader global markets. So I don't expect a 50% decline in stock markets, regardless of what the U.S. economy looks like. But yeah, the correlation is still there, so you're going to see the correlation, but it's less correlated probably than it was in some ways, but it's still correlated. So yeah, there'd be a runoff effect for sure. But I think the recovery would be faster for digital assets than it would be for traditional. How concerning is the U.S. Debt deficit and your outlook for the future? Do you think it's bullish, bearish for crypto? Well, there's a few ways to look at this, because I know everybody gets all entangled on the deficit, and both sides use it to their advantage, or they don't pay attention to it when, it could be negative for them. It's a number on a ledger, man. Now, a certain percentage of taxes go to pay off the interest on the debt. And that percentage has ballooned. I think it was 6 or 7% even after COVID, right after, in the immediate after effects of COVID. Now it's like 18 or 19%, I believe. I think I saw maybe even higher than that. Massive. And with obviously Republicans coming into the office, and Republicans kind of all around the government, the House, the Senate, et cetera, they're not going to be looking to raise taxes. So that money's gonna have to come somewhere else. Now they want to cut a lot of fat out of the budget, which can have at it, man. Seriously. If the Navy's spending $45 a nail, I can go to Home Depot if you want. I'll charge you 42. The point is that they need to get that money from somewhere. And yes, that'll help. And all these things, all these talks about, we don't want to pay more money into NATO, let's let NATO go. All these things that are talking about they all come back to money. Ukraine, et cetera. All these things come back to money. And the U.S. to some extent has to stop being the world's piggy bank. Now, there's a reason that that's done. And there are people that make money, lots of money off the U.S. being the world's piggy bank to a certain extent. At the end of the day, I personally could care less about the debt or deficit in reality I think the perception of what the debt and deficit means is has much more of an effect on the overall market than the actual debt does. I think any attempt, though, to restructure and save money, even if it means nothing, meaning like, instead of spending, 10 trillion more this year, we're only going to spend 2. That's an 8 trillion reduction. Oh, and by the way, next year, we might actually even have a surplus. Just something like that being announced and them trying to do it will be greatly received by the market in general. So I think either way, it could be bullish for crypto. What at the end of the day is bullish for crypto is adoption. And if we really do start seeing reserves at the US and Japan, et cetera, game on. The fear then, the real fear, is that Bitcoin will not be accessible to normal people at some point. That they'll rig the game enough where they want to control the game, and it becomes an institutional sovereign wealth play. There's lots of those, by the way, that we could talk about for hours that nobody here has access to, that are stable, solid returns, and always are stable, solid returns, regardless of how many wars there are, regardless of if there's a recession or not. Big money tends to always make money. And they could do that for sure. There's really no Bitcoin DEX. They already got rid of peer-to-peer. They're regulating exchanges like Coinmetro. So, that is a potential happening that could occur in the future. It's my goal to make sure that doesn't occur, by the way, and that's one of the whole reasons why Coinmetro exists. But anyway, not trying to play doomsday, but that would be kind of the more existential crisis, I think. Hey, Kevin, when will you be building the Coinmetro L2 on top of Kadena? Who knows? We definitely need more resources for that. Maybe 2026. Somebody's going to meme that stupid face I just made. I'm going to wait for that one. Hey, Kev, did MW ever get back to you? Nope. About the WISE thing, or is it just lots of words? I don't know if it's lots of words and no substance, but definitely never got back to me about it. Still waiting. If I had that meme with the skeleton sitting on the keyboard, dead, I'd throw it up there. Any timeline on render switch? And when do we see new listings? New listings will be happening inside of Q1. No timeline currently. As I said, though, all these different changes and swaps and whatever, everybody trying to take advantage of a bull market, I think people are a little stupider than they actually are. When they're just, changing names, changing networks, whatever. All those things, I believe, will be tackled within Q1, especially as we get new backend devs in Jan and February. I still have 2-year bonds in my program. When will that be paid? I guess, did you choose XCM or equity? I assume you choose equity, because if you choose XCM, you should have it already. But if you chose equity, legally speaking, you have it. So literally, that contract that you signed that said it could transfer into equity. If you made that choice or didn't, because if you didn't, we automatically would have switched it to equity. Then by law, you own that equity. You might not see it, but you own it. I know that's not much of a consolation right now, that me telling you this, but it's the truth. In Estonia, the say company's house or whatever where you can go and see like all the shareholders, is actually not, or doesn't have to be, the legitimate copy. We could have an Excel sheet on, our CFO's desk, and that can be the legitimate copy. That's kind of how Ignium works. And that was the loophole, basically saying that, well, Ignium can now replace the company registry in terms of shareholding, et cetera, et cetera. So, now, again, I know that doesn't necessarily change anything. We need to get this cleaned up. We plan on getting it cleaned up literally now, Q4. Again, some things happened in Q2 and Q3 that pushed us off our roadmap a little bit. My goal is Q2, that this is finally out of the way for us. I hope it happens beforehand, but I think Q2 we can get it done. Again, we have more backend devs coming online. There's really nobody that has full knowledge of Ignium's backend, which means it's going to need a little bit of a code audit in order for us to kind of move forward. I just talked actually to someone internally about this just yesterday, the day before, about potentially doing a front end fix, at least so that people can see what the reality is, and then we can worry about the back end later. That may be what we do, and that could probably happen way before Q2. In the new year, when our first sprint meeting is going to be on January 7th. So by probably the 14th, I should have a lot more information about a lot of these questions. So by the 17th, 18th, 19th, when we have our next AMA, I should be able to give you a direct answer to these. Make sure you ping me on Telegram as well, just to keep me on my toes. Concerns about Bitcoin's limited throughput and scalability for real adoption. Doesn't matter at all. Doesn't matter at all, because at this point, Bitcoin has nothing to do with payments. I guess we've all realized that. It's about transfer of value. And as I talked about earlier, the Bitcoin network is a trusted network at this point, right, in crypto. And so while it technically might not be finite, because you can fork, it is perceived, I believe, to be solid, right? And because of that, it is now a transfer of value network, and also considered to be a store of value. So much so that sovereign nations are thinking about putting money in their reserves. Obviously, have El Salvador done already? I don't mean to say it's not a country, but let's be really honest with one another. If you had to list, the most powerful countries in the world, top 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, it wouldn't be on the list. Again, nothing against the country. If it wasn't for them and for their continued push, we might not be where we are today. So hats off to them, but meaningless in many ways. And so when it comes to this throughput scalability, doesn't need it at all. It's proven that, I think, because it's gotten to where it is now without it. It's not going to need it to get to the next major milestone either. It's not about that for Bitcoin. Concerns about, it was asked twice. Okay. Hi, Kevin. Do you collect anything physical? If so, what? Hopefully a fun question. I do have I collect a bit of art, some crypto art as well. You want me to show you something? Check this out. This is actually gifted to me. Haven't got it on the wall or anything yet, but there you go. This is like a Captain Bitcoin shield, I guess. I don't know what you would call this guy, but you can see a little hodl thing there as well. So this is probably one of the more, I call it, I don't know if you can even hear me. Hold on. Might be a bit gimmicky or something, but I think it was kind of cool. But I do collect a bit of art, not just crypto art, but art in general. Things that I just find interesting. Most of the art that I've purchased over the years is about the fact that money has no value. And maybe I'm not speaking literally. You need money to live. Money definitely has value, but in reality, backed by nothing. It's just paper, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the crypto art kind of goes down that same path. So I do collect a bit of art. I've collected a lot of things in the past, but that's probably as an adult, that's where I'm at. Please list GLMR so I don't have to use a VPN to trade it, pretty please. Alec, man, you got to get on with Alec. He's listing PM project manager. He's on vacation, man. Don't ping him now though, because he'll probably respond, because he's a great guy, a nice guy, and he likes to work, but we need him to have a vacation. Yeah, Bitcoin dilution would be nuts. Yeah, it literally makes no sense. It's like the dumbest FUD since FUD, I guess. Are you doing special separate efforts to attract high volume generating individuals as the 100 million person this week? Wasn't just one person, by the way. Will the low fees on CM should be an obvious choice for most major traders? Well, low fees, obviously something that traders need. Of course, they usually pay less than what everybody else pays anyway, because they go direct. Somebody sees they're doing volume. Somebody reaches out and goes, hey, to make sure they don't lose them, and they pay less money. So that is something definitely. I think right now, one of the side projects, not really a side project, but one of the things we're doing, one of the reasons we got rid of some pairs, one of the reasons why we will be going through some different audits over the next month, 2 months, coming back in January. And one of the reasons why we're going to make some additional changes is to get, CoinGecko ratings up, et cetera, get ourselves higher up on the list. Volumes are helping with that as well, because, that's where traders look. We also will eventually come in with sales, marketing first or advertising first. We will have somewhat of sales. We may use our support team for that. So I think our first effort, for us to become profitable right now, sustainable, and be able to breathe a little bit, to refocus, and then really start to hammer things, as we want to. We don't need that much more. And so I think we focus on our fundamentals. We're going to get the retail guys in. We're going to just get Coinmetro to be bigger than it is now. And then we can definitely go on the hunt. And I think we know how to do it. We have people with experience doing it. I know where some of these guys lurk. I know what they look for, etc. And we can find them. But initially, the way you get those guys, you get retail first. The reason why those guys might be on Binance, because that's where a lot of retail flow is. They trade against that retail flow, which gets them better fills. They don't, because Binance does use liquidity providers as well. I had a conversation once with somebody on their desk. They said 70% of their fills were through liquidity providers, which that's a whole nother conversation, which doesn't make any sense. But the more retail flow there is, the more liquidity there is at different prices, the faster execution, because it's internal, doesn't have to tap somebody externally. All those things are needed to appease institutional or let's say higher frequency traders. So, but it's definitely a topic that we're moving towards for sure. Yeah, I'd even watch myself rant, to be honest. I got to be honest. I mean, uranium for nuclear power, for general super AI and war. Yeah, look, like I said, anything tokenized can be interesting as long as there's a reason that tokenizing makes sense. Now, most people probably don't know how to invest in uranium. So even bringing that onto like a retail-esque platform would already be probably a major win. Hi, Kevin. Any news on the conversion from PRQ to React on Coinmetro? I don't have any news from the PRQ guys. Last news we had was a couple months ago, just saying like, yeah, don't worry, guys, we'll let you know beforehand. But nothing else as of yet. So nothing to share as of yet. My dad thinks governments would be incredibly stupid adding Bitcoin to the reserves. Yeah. Well, my dad probably not anymore. Had I asked him a few years ago, he probably would have said the same thing. I think why your dad thinks that. Now, remember, Michael Saylor just a few years ago was also a skeptic. Saylor figured out that he could use Bitcoin in a traditional sense to game the markets like normally is done with debt and stock buybacks. But he also saw significantly more upside. Now, if your dad looks at if your dad believes that the US dollar, the euro, the pound have intrinsic or underlying value and that their value maintains itself over time, then there's no way you're going to win this argument. But if you can explain that the dollar, the pound, the euro lose multitudes, percentages of their value over time, their purchasing power, then constantly stacking reserves in currency makes no sense. Now he could argue gold, but compare gold in the last 16 years with Bitcoin. I don't think there's a comparison. Now, if you imagine sovereign money flowing into Bitcoin, never mind institutional with endowments, etc., but balance sheets from major countries flowing into Bitcoin, the fact that it's scarce, they're not going to find any more of them. The fact that they can only find them at a very specific set interval, and that the overall buying of even an individual on a daily basis outpaces what they can find or mine, then his mind will start to change. It doesn't matter if you think Bitcoin is valueless, because if you can explain to me why the dollar is it has value, real value, or if you can explain to me even why gold has value, because most people will explain to you why gold has value. They'll say, well, it's used in stuff, Okay, there's jewelry. Let's just not even talk about that, because that's just because it's shiny and pretty. Now, if you want to attest value to that, that's fine. But in reality, is that real intrinsic, real value? You could say it's used in electronics and in medical devices and things like that. Sure, it is. But silver is used way more. And silver is actually harder to mine, and there's probably less of it on the face of the earth. So why is it cheaper? Markets, I think people that get involved in markets, read about markets, end up at the same conclusion, that markets are irrational, but the pursuit of wealth is never irrational and always follows the same exact game plan. And Bitcoin fits perfectly into that game plan, especially for institutional and sovereign money. They can play the same game they've been playing with stock markets, with gold reserves, and they can play it with Bitcoin. It costs them less. It has a much higher potential return, and they can control the downside because the incoming supply is so low. So, you know, that's it. They figured it out. You look great, Kev. Keep it up. Happy holidays in your family. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Thanks for doing these AMAs. Thank you for coming to the AMA, because I might still do them, but it would be boring, and it'd be painful. So I appreciate it. Happy holidays in your family. Thanks for all you do. 2025 will be a year of Coinmetro. Thank you, Paul. If it wasn't for you, those who don't know, Paul sends me memes pretty much every day. Some of them are really funny. Some of them aren't so funny. But most of them are hilarious, actually. And it's on some of those really rough days, I just check the Paul meme channel, man. Keeps me going. A couple really good ones in the last few days as well. So thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. Wintermute. Hey, Kevin, I missed the first part of the stream, so you've already answered this. The USD SWIFT, almost no banks in the U.S. will give out IBANs, so SWIFT is only good for international wires from the U.S. Almost no banks in the U.S. give out IBANs. Yeah. It is an international wire for sure, because it's going to a bank in Singapore, a Chinese bank. And that may seem kind of weird, but Chinese banks don't necessarily have to clear through the Fed. And so it's actually a much better solution, especially for crypto exchanges. And so anyway, the point is, yes, it's for international wires from the US or from other countries as well. We are working on cards. We're working on ACH. Cards will come first. ACH will come after. We're still working on it. It's just, it's gotten much more difficult. I expect it to get easier into Q2, Q3 because of the incoming administration, maybe Q4, maybe even into Q1 2026. It's going to get easier more than likely, but it's going to take a bit of time. But before it gets easier, we should still have it onboarded, because we've been working on it for a while. Thank you, Cactus Man. We will get ACH back. It's going to come. Cards will come first for US citizens or residents. ACH will come after. We do have a provider that we've been talking to. It's going to take a little bit of work, but we'll get it online. I'm thinking it's going to be early Q2, but we'll see. It's the priority, so if we can do it in Q1, we'll do it. Thank you, Victor. I knew Victor was going to come in and correct me on that one. I believe it's harder to mine silver, though. I believe it's hard. Like, it costs more in relative terms and based on the cost of silver, the market price. But thank you for correcting me, Victor. I knew you were going to come in and help out. Why do governments simply invest in more science tech infrastructure instead of buying gold, Bitcoin, or whatever? Well, because governments are run by people, and people have self-interests, and people are also a bit lazy. And so they need money. They need to create, they need to find money somewhere. They need to create value somewhere. It's a lot easier to create value when something else is doing it for you, like a market. But yeah, agreed. What they should be doing, I don't know if I want the government investing directly into science, tech, and infrastructure, but I think the government should provide funds so that smart people can do that. More grants. But they can provide more grants if they make money on Bitcoin or gold or silver or whatever. Thanks. Have a Merry Christmas. Same to you. Apparently, I don't know if I'm a scammer or he's calling somebody a scammer, but thanks, Wowzers. Appreciate that. I don't know what I did, but awesome. Kevin, you always make me bullish. You're welcome. I hope you're welcome. Even when it feels like the end of crypto is around the corner. Happy holidays. Hope you remember me. I do. Absolutely. I think you've had the same avatar as well. I stole people's money. Okay. What did I steal? Let's see. This guy's having a time of his life today. XCM, not money. Okay. So I stole people's XCM. Okay. I didn't steal anybody's XCM. That's for sure. Me personally, or the company. There are people that still have XCM locked because, well, they never came back to ID themselves. But that's a really small percentage, actually. Initially, we did lock a lot of XCM because people hadn't come back to identify themselves. It's way less than like 0.1%, though, of the supply at this point. And when people come back, even though we set a deadline, we usually still unlock it. I don't know what he's talking about. Could be talking about, I don't know, price floor, etc. But he didn't say that. So, but if he wants to, he can say it. I'm already over an hour, but I'm willing to placate if you actually want to say what you're talking about, rather than just, these small little, I don't know, relatively vague posts. Pending mess. Well, you're going to have to ping me again, man, because I might have forgot or I missed it. So then tell me what you're talking about, bro. I mean, you're the last guy in the room right now. So hit it up and let me talk about it publicly. You know. By the way, do you use that? Do you use that screenshot when you do videos and stuff? The mouth open one. Yeah, those are always amazing. By the way. Yeah, this guy's just. So explain yourself. Explain it. Type it. Type it out. Let me actually, contest it. Here we go. Got an actual question, maybe. Kevin, when can we get Canadian CAD support? I know you're going to tell me we don't have Canadian customers. Give me hopium. We do have Canadian customers, and we have a registration in Canada as well. Currently, we don't have onboarded a payment processor that's active that supports Canadian dollars, but the one that I think we're onboarding for additional USD support does. Under cards, I believe we will be able to light up Canadian dollar support as well. So we'll see. Obviously, getting more clients in Canada would help us make that decision faster. But I do think cards will be a possibility in the relative near future. What was your thought process behind the price floors? Well, the initial price floors, I believe, were what? 1,312? Maybe it was 3. I think it was 1, 3, and 12. So the original price floor at 1 was because price bounced off of 1 and went higher. There was already a good amount of people trying to buy, so limit orders at 1. So we decided to put in that floor, basically to keep the book clean, to be honest, and 2, because there was already enough support based on kind of daily flows, and that floor was never eaten through. We did the same thing at 3 cents, I think, and then 12 cents. 12 cents was also tied into the fact that was once we kind of really got past that price initially, it was the last price of the ICO, so it was a bit significant. At 60 cents, XCM is a product. Considering the value of the ecosystem at 60 cents, and also that coincided with the value of the business at the time, it made sense for us. Also knowing that a bear market was coming, we were told by some of our investors they would support that floor with a lot of money. And what happened was that there was about 3 million put on that floor, and it got eaten through, and no new money came in. It is what it is. Not how we would like it to have occurred. That's what happened. We eventually removed that floor because of that in preparation for this bull market. And now we're doing everything we can to make sure that we put value behind that XCM. Simple as that. Yeah, I didn't. You do know what rug means, right? Rug means that like I sold into everybody, which I didn't do, because just like you at 60 cents, when there was no liquidity on the buy side, I couldn't sell either. Okay, final question for the day. Do you intend to put a buy wall instead of buying into the future generated fees of XCM? As liquidity kind of formulates more in the book, as we start to see how that formulates, I do believe that this might be the way we go. We might have a combination of markets and limits. Right now, the way it works is if the system sees that there'll be slippage beyond a certain point, it puts a limit order. If it doesn't see that, it puts a market order. Simple as that. As you can see, our buybacks are also, I think, a maximum of 2,500 euro per buyback, and then they're spaced in over time. And so that right now makes sense, considering how the book looks. That probably won't make sense in the future. And I think some type of hybrid is going to make the most sense. All right, one more question. And would you accept Saylor's private invitation to his BTC yacht? I still think Saylor's a bit of a loon. He does say some things that make sense. He does say things that might not make sense, but he's a real good salesman. I think I know what he's doing. And, I think it is sustainable, even if MicroStrategy tanks, though, then he's not probably going to get any more loans, or he'll get significantly lower loans. And if he's pushed price high enough and the market's pushed price high enough, he won't be able to buy enough Bitcoin really probably to get even more loans in the future. So the loans may dry up, but he's not on leverage as far as I know. And so Bitcoin could go to whatever. His company's still going to make profits. He can still buy more Bitcoin. He'd be able to buy way more. So in the long run, as long as his shareholders continue to support him, even if the share price tanks, as long as the shareholders support his decisions, he's got a pretty good game he's running. I don't think it is. I just explained why. We can definitely go into more detail. Yeah, you can hit me up on Telegram. I'll do some voice messages about it. That's going to be it. We're an hour and 10 minutes in. Thank you, wowzers, for, not really putting up a good argument. But, I am in Telegram at Kevin Murcko. I haven't said this in a long time at the close of a show. And you can also hit me up on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at Kevin Murcko. If you want to have a discussion about it, come to Telegram, man. and actually ask a decent question, come up with a decent argument, and we can talk about it, you know? Could I go back in time? You can ask me all those questions. They've already been asked, but you can ask them again, you know, feel for it. Anyway, have a great weekend, everybody. Have a great Christmas. I'll see you guys in Telegram. As you can hit me up as you want. Buy some Bitcoin this weekend. Buy some Bitcoin this weekend. Why not? Buy the dip. Buy some XCM while you're at it. You know, I'm going to be buying some XCM. I actually bought a little bit of XCM, but I'm still waiting on a transaction in my personal life to close so I can buy some more. But thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks for the support. Thanks for everybody in the chat, including Wowzers. I don't mind getting questioned. Anything, really. You can ask me whatever you want. So have a great weekend, everybody. Like I said, it is Friday. Have a great Christmas. Like I said, have a great holiday. I think I said like a million times now, so I'm just going to hang out. It's been a long day. Cheers, everybody.